My partner and I, she had a son who I'd lived with since he was 3. When he was 11, I was accused of assault against him. This incident happened when he had been at the dining table with a smoothie and he got mad with something and he walked to his room with the smoothie. Now, he'd been in a habit of spilling stuff everywhere, so his mother told him to come back. He ignored her, so I stood up and asked him to come back. He ignored that, so I followed him to his room and asked him again to come back. He refused, so I took him by the arm and took him back to the table. In the same morning, his mother admitted to grabbing him by the arm. He said in the same place as I'd grabbed him and dragged him out of the house because he refused to go to church. He said he had a sore arm, so they went for a hospital scan which eventually showed there was nothing, and the hospital reported it. The court documents say, I entered the complainant's bedroom and asked the complainant to come back to the table, but I was ignored. I then grabbed the complainant's arm to escort him to the kitchen table. The complainant was upset and called me a whore. It was suggested I leave the house, and I did. Following this incident, the mother grabbed the child by the wrists to make him go to church. Following this incident, the complainant complained of a sore arm. So there is an irony here that the action of one person can be not charged, yet the action of another person can be charged, and it seems to be up to the discretion of the police. So they will choose who to charge even though 2 people have done, in essence, similar things. The court said the act of escorting the child back to the table was clearly corrective. There was no necessity for immediate control other than correcting the disobedience. A refusal to return to the table is not disruptive in this context. I think a normal part of parenting is ensuring that children are respectful and they do listen to adults who ask them reasonable things. They're not, crazy requests. It's just reasonable request for an adult. The child refuses to do that and you then ignore the child or let the child get away with it. They would then just bring that sort of behaviour to their everyday life. Okay, you're not allowed to smack anymore, but it should actually be called a no touching legislation. If you take a child by the hand to put them in the car and they don't want to, anything that the child doesn't want to do is assault. So I was interviewed at the station, then had to wait for a while, and then they released me. They just charged me with the one thing, and then before the trial, it was like, bang, here's the second charge. These 2 instances were 2 years apart, but the police officer came because of the second incident, the taking of the arm. The first instance happened when he was about 9, 2 years earlier. So he'd been coming into our bedroom at all hours of the morning, refusing to leave and just disturbing our sleep. So one night I was walking him back to his room. He got into bed and then started screaming at the top of his voice. So I put my hand over his mouth and said to him, when you stop screaming, I'll take my hand away. So that lasted 5 seconds. He had done it on multiple occasions, and at 1 in the morning, you're tired, you don't think about that. And in an ideal world, I think that's what every parent would do. And so I was done for an assault for that one, because the boy argued that when my hand covered his mouth, my fingers were big and they covered his nostrils too. So he was without air for 5 seconds. I disagree with that, but the court found in his favour. He could breathe because I could hear him. The judge said, a reasonable person in my position would have considered the other obvious reasonable reactions, like shutting the door and letting him scream it out for himself. He started screaming and I just thought he's going to wake all the neighbours. It wasn't an excessive way to deal with the behaviour. It was a sort of 1 in the morning way to deal with the behaviour. As a teacher, I reported it to the school. I couldn't teach again. Pretty much, if you've been charged with assault, you can't teach. Then once the conviction came through, the registration was cancelled. People watching would say, why didn't your partner stick up for you? But when you're going through a separation, that doesn't always happen. Separation was underway for other issues that were happening in her life. The court noted that the offending occurred on 2 separate occasions, albeit separated by 2 years. I guess the court, in essence, saying it shows a trend of abuse. It doesn't leave much room for error, really. It means as a parent you'd have to be 100% on your game 100% of the time, and any slight little thing that you did, the child could then bring up as an act of revenge many years later, and it would be taken against you. And my message to parents, it's a tough one. You don't actually have that much control. Unless you just stood back and let your children do anything, you would have to overthink every single situation. Every time a child refuses to get in the car, doesn't want to listen to you, or wants to turn on the TV when you're watching something, or something like that. The judge refused name suppression and refused discharge without conviction. I've seen a few cases recently in the paper. One, a police officer slapped, she was a 15-year-old, he wasn't prosecuted. Another one, who was a teacher, he hit his son, causing bruising to the face, he wasn't prosecuted. A guy beat his wife with a cord to stop him being extradited, he got discharged without conviction. So it seems like privilege, friendship, and just luck of the draw can have a big impact. It was supposed to be the anti-smacking law, and now it's pretty much an anti-touch law. I guess you have to wonder how far it's going to go, or how many cases, how many parents are going to be affected by it before things change. I lost my job, and I lost my profession, and of course mud still sticks. So I think it had, quite a big effect on life. It could happen to other parents too.